families in Singapore, and his grandfather owned, a factory or anyway, he describes bungalows and so on. And he also mentioned that most of the USC members were middle class English educated. Now the majority by the 1960s of people who went up to university, and maybe even now, right, were middle class. It was very rare, very few students went up to university. I was shocked in subsequent years to discover only about 2,000 students in all at the university, right? Maybe less than 5 or maybe 3% of the school cohort went up to university. So they would naturally be mainly English educated, unlike people, scholarship girls like me, who came from slums and lived in Chinatown and all that. So anyway, that was one. The other thing too is that the Democratic Socialist Club was cast as in a binary fashion, as the pro-establishment other. If you read the demos, which I did, we were not. In fact, our float for the Rag and Flag Day after Malaysia, when we protested against the way it had been managed, was banned. Right? We spoke against the government's decision to set up elite schools. I recommended community chess, and the inaugural issue, we defined what democratic socialism is. And Dr. Sai rightly puts it, during that time in the 60s, there was still this fear of communism. And those of us who joined the Democratic Socialist Club were pro-democracy, were pro-socialism, right? And we did not want to take the path of, we did not see a future with Barisan Sosialis. And as KU points out, while we did not actively support the People's Action Party, did not identify with them, I was never ever asked when I was a student, to join the PAP or to in any way, right? And I wasn't even aware that we were subsequently discovered that maybe, it was a PAP initiated a student body. It wasn't the case at all. It wasn't, I can honestly say that. Whereas KU describes how Socialist Club registered themselves as election agents for the Barisan Sosialis, right? The DSC never did that. But what we did do, and as he would have described, is that before we came up to campus, Socialist Club had captured the student union. Right? And they had captured it from his description. All this is new to me. I only knew it from his description, because when I came out, I was just an ignorant first year, right? And I even joined the Democratic Socialist Club, I think by accident, because Jen Tang was my best friend, and we wrote the inaugural major piece on that demon, and I wrote in, because I was English literature student, to be the publication secretary. Anyway, we decided to capture the union because we didn't want the union to be used for political purposes, right? So we captured the union, and I became the publication secretary of the union as well. So for one whole year, from 65, 66, right, Ho Tai An was in charge of all the publications, student publications, Singapore Undergrad, the USU Bulletin, the Demos, Socialist Democrat, and I was able to do it because in the second year we don't have exams, right? And I enjoyed writing, enjoyed, discussing and all that. And when Edgar began by describing the activities of the Socialist Club, right, I said, wow, that's a description actually of the activities and programs of the Democratic Socialist Club. Because we did the same thing, publications, seminars, went out and we protested, we were part of the university academic freedom autonomy movement. I have pictures of us marching on the campus because the government wouldn't allow us to, as the union had planned, to carry a coffin to conference hall, death of university academy autonomy and academic freedom, and then to end with a forum with then Prime Minister Lee. And he did a very wicked thing, right? Clever thing. He said, okay, I will meet you at the forum. And he chose a date, which was the date of the law students' examinations. Okay, so, and it was also near to the other, the examination timetable. So everybody knew the students would go. Okay, so what we did was we just marched to Bukit Timah Road, that would be the public space, made a U-turn, that part there, and then came back again. So the Democratic Socialist Club wasn't that pro-government, but as we were not seen as anti-government, right? We were able to host talks and so on, where government ministers like Goh Keng Swee and Rajaratnam came to talk to us. Now I looked at demos yesterday, again, and Rajaratnam and Goh Keng Swee are the two intellectuals, right, in the PAP. And their speeches were not pro-PAP, they were talking about economic development, about the future of Singapore. So the 60s, very different from the Fajar generation, right, earlier, which was the anti-colonial struggle, the idea of what would Malaya be, union with, the nature of the future after the British. By the time we came up to university, it was already your own elected government. Right? The question is whether you shared their vision of democratic socialism. Now, I'm not saying that the government is still democratic socialist now, okay, right? I'm saying at the time, and we saw HDB flats, education, scholarships, meritocracy and all that as the way to go versus what we were seeing happening in previously in Stalinist Russia and Russia under the communists, China under the communists. Even though my mother, who knew the old China, admired the new China under communism very much, and they indeed done much for China, but there were aspects of it that, and this whole idea of being anti-communist, right, of fearful of Singapore becoming communist, was very much a part of the atmosphere of those who did not share the socialist club's vision, although they would call themselves not communist, but I think leftist. I think leftist was the term. I think we were pink and they might be not red, but shocking pink. Well, so I hope that as it were, it was a very thrilling and very active. Oh, one more point I'd like to make. One very sad thing about what happened to the university after 1974 with the University Amendment Act is that the union lost its independence. We were able to do all this and do, I have pictures of myself with the union expressing solidarity with Nanyang students, with the riot squad vans in the background, 3 photos of this, where the University of Malaya Student Union students came down also to support the Nanta students, because we felt they had a case, right? And nothing was happened, to us. We didn't use student union money and so on. What happened is, by politicizing the union, which we did not, right? The Tan Wah Piao, Juliet Chin, well, I admire what they do. I saw their bravery, I saw their demonstrations, because by the time I was a young lecturer, but they were taking the union down the wrong road. And as a result, it tempted the government, or it made the government take drastic measures, change not only the constitution of the union, right? Many people did not know that the constitution of the University of Singapore could not be changed except by parliament, okay? And although one, Huang Su-jin, I think, called for a select committee before the constitution could be changed. You see, if you change the student union constitution, you had to change. You were changing the university constitution because it was part of the university constitution. Okay, and when they changed the university student union constitution, they took away many rights of the university as well, which was hardly publicized. Of course, the select committee, Huang Su-jin, yes, from the PAP asked for select committee. It was never convened, so the public never got to hear the pros and cons despite the student demonstration. Okay, and what happened is, where before the major thing, the major right that was taken away was the students' right over their money. When we were in the union, we ran our own union, we hired our own staff, we acted independently, and we had access to our money. The bursar had no right to tell us what to do with our own money. And this is what happened under Tan Wah Piao and Juliet. They used the union money for working for outside purposes beyond the university constitution, the student union constitution. And after that, the union was like a big tree protecting all the societies. All the societies got their money from the union. After this, when everything had to be approved by the bursar, and you no longer had control, campus life, the societies and everything gradually died because they had no more money. They couldn't. The annual highlight for all of those who were at university in the 1960s, if you remember, is we were all gathered together at one night, for the budget, and we will fight for our share of the budget. Okay, $3,000 to the Literary Society, $5,000 to Economic